guys, we're here at Walt Disney's Epcot, where today the Food and Wine Festival is going on, and we're going to be tasting three different recipes. We're going to try to make them at home. We're going to see how they taste, see if it's practical to make at home, cost efficient, and I bet you anything we can make it taste better. But for now, let's get going. So a little backstory on what's going on here. Here at Walt Disney's Epcot occurs the Food and Wine Festival. It is a end of summer, early fall festival that features many different specialty foods to sample in the park. There are new booths that show up in Future World, booths are added to the World Showcase, even adding some countries that aren't typically displayed in the World Showcase. From the Appleseed Orchard with its specialty beers and ales to Japan's teriyaki chicken bun, there's certainly a lot to try while I'm here. However, since I don't have unlimited money, I will only be focusing on 3 today. So my hunt for sufficiently delicious and interesting food starts me off here at the Swanky Saucy Swine. They have a lot of good looking things here, such as a soy glazed sticky rib and pork rinds with pinned cheese. I'm here though for the grilled pork shoulder lettuce wrap. This lettuce wrap features a charred corn salsa, pickled red onions, and a cilantro lime crema. It really does look good, but how does this little piggy taste? Okay guys, first up we have the grilled pork shoulder lettuce wrap. Now, this one looks really nice. Got a couple of ones here. We have some barbecue pork shoulder, we have some pickled onions, some corn salsa, and what looks like a cilantro lime crema. So let's just give this a taste. Oh. Oh, wow. I'm actually very surprised. I was expecting it to be actually like a little bit bland. Actually, wondering if it was going to be dry. It's definitely messy. I definitely think we can improve on the lettuce wrap feature, that it holds up a bit better. But that cilantro lime crema, along with the pickled onions, that pork shoulder, it's really, really tasty. I actually really like this. I'm looking forward to see what I can do with this. But man, yeah, if you're ever in the Food and Wine Festival at Epcot, try out from the Swanky Saucy Swine. What a name with that. All right, make sure to try this one. And once again, that's the grilled pork shoulder lettuce wrap. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, so we seem to be starting off well with the lettuce wrap from the Saucy Swine, but how will everything else compare? Well, after going on a few rides and just bebopping around. What does your hat say? What does your hat say?
If you can read this, thank the Phoenicians.
Oh. We make our way here to the Spain booth. Here, they feature a charcuterie board, a paella dish, and the dish I'll be trying today, which is the seafood salad. This seafood salad features shrimp, bay scallops, mussels, olives, and an olive oil and vinegar dressing. This is a tiny little portion, but let's see if this little cup of salad can deliver on a big flavor. All right, what we have next is going to be a seafood salad. This comes from the Spain Pavilion. I'm really excited about this one since looks like we have some shrimp, we have scallops, we have some red pepper, some olives. This looks like a lot of good stuff. I also noticed they sprinkled some sort of vinaigrette. I think it was a red wine vinegar. And so, let's just dive into this. This is very nice, very refreshing. I'll say really nice, mild tasting fish. Like, I do kind of like the saltier flavor of some of the fish, but this is very mild. Doesn't have a fishy taste at all. Scallops, shrimp, very tender, not overcooked. They're not rubbery, so that's a really good thing. Points up for you. But yeah, I think though this is very nice. This is very refreshing. But I think we make this more flavorful, and it will be. Maybe lean in a bit more into the vinaigrette, maybe lean more into some herbs, maybe do some sort of poaching for the shrimp, and I think we really do something special with this, but this is fantastic. Once again, this is the seafood salad from Spain. Fantastic. I suggest it. Now, to finish off the night, I'm heading to Japan to try the teriyaki chicken bun. This is a little funny, considering that bao buns aren't Japanese, they're Chinese. But, I mean, they have buns in Japan, so okay. Also, most of us in the US think teriyaki refers to the sauce. However, it actually refers to the style of cooking. So basically, a teriyaki is either broiled or grilled. So a steamed bun, doesn't actually fit that description. But the dish is just referring to the sauce used inside to flavor the chicken. So we have a teriyaki but not teriyaki Chinese steamed bun in Japan. Yeah! Despite this little bit of confusion, let's see how this bun tastes. So the audio for this reaction wasn't that great, so I'll sum it up for you here. The bun looked nice and was very soft, but the filling was way too sweet. It fell into that trend of over-sweetening the teriyaki sauce. A good sauce is supposed to balance the saltiness and the sweet to make the flavor profile dynamic and enjoyable, but this was way too overpowering on the sweetness. So I don't know about making our buns look better than these. I mean, let's face it, this looks great. But we can definitely make a teriyaki sauce that's better. But that's it for the Food and Wine Festival. Let's get back home and make these dishes. To start off, we're going to make the pork shoulder lettuce wrap. This is going to have a couple of different ingredients. To start off, we're going to make our crema. To do that, we're going to need a sour cream that we're going to make from scratch. It takes 2 ingredients. It's super simple. All you need is 1 tablespoon of buttermilk and 1 cup of heavy cream. That's it. Add in your buttermilk, give that a stir, and let it sit at room temperature covered, lightly covered. I didn't cover this tight, just enough that things can't get in like bugs or dust. We're going to let this sit on the counter at room temperature for 16 hours to 24 hours. We basically want this to sit until it's thick. Once that time has passed, we're going to check in on our sour cream, and as you can see right here, it is incredibly thick. I mean, look at that. That looks beautiful. Now, to this, we're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, give it a stir, and then we're going to put this in the fridge and let it cool down and thicken even more. Once it's chilled, we're going to add the juice of 1 lime and a bunch of cilantro. Give that a stir, and then there you have it, your homemade cilantro and lime crema. Next step is the corn salsa. To a bowl, we're going to add 1 ear of fresh corn kernels, 1 diced up jalapeno, 1 diced up Roma tomato, 1/4 of a red onion diced as well, and a little bit of salt, pepper, lime juice, and give that a stir. Once this is thoroughly stirred up, we're going to add this to a mason jar. Like, I love my mason jars, you know that, and we're going to leave this in the fridge until we're ready for it. We're going to work on our pork shoulder. For that, we're going to need a dry rub. I'm going to add a little bit of kosher salt, about maybe 2 tablespoons worth, a little bit of ground black pepper, same amount, 2 tablespoons, 2 tablespoons of smoked paprika, 2 tablespoons of chili powder, 2 tablespoons of cayenne, 2 tablespoons of garlic powder, and 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. We want equal amounts of all this. If you want it less spicy and more sweet, just add more sugar, less cayenne, less chili powder, it's fine. To this 3-pound pork shoulder, we're going to add our dry rub. I'm going to rub this in to all over the pork shoulder. I want this thing covered. Once you have it completely covered, looking like this, you let it sit for about 30 minutes to an hour at room temperature. You don't want to let it sit too long. We don't want the salt to cure the meat. We just want it to penetrate and to make it flavorful. Lastly, we're going to make a barbecue sauce. For this, you're going to need 1/3 cup of molasses, 1/3 cup of brown sugar, 2 cups of ketchup, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon coriander, and 1 teaspoon cumin, and 1/2 cup of white vinegar. Give that a stir, and then I ended up wanting a little bit of kick from this as well, so I added a little pinch of that dry rub from the pork shoulder. I'm just going to add a little bit in there, give it a stir. If you don't want this as spicy, you don't have to do this step. If you want it more sweet, add more brown sugar, add more molasses. This is your barbecue sauce. You control the flavor. Now, normally for a barbecue sauce, you would finish it up by cooking it, but we're going to be adding this to the pork shoulder to cook while it's cooking, so we don't need to do that. Now, if you want to use this barbecue sauce, say on the wrap or on something else, you would cook it for about 20 minutes over medium heat, and then it would be done. But since we're playing on the pork shoulder, it's fine. Now, I know Epcot advertises as a grilled pork shoulder, but I realize not everyone has time to sit at a grill for hours on end to cook this pork shoulder and keep an eye on it. So we're actually going to slow cook this. I'm going to be using a pressure cooker, but you can use a crock pot if you have one, or just set it in your oven at the lowest temperature possible. Mine is about 170 degrees. That should be fine. We're going to add the barbecue sauce, rub it all over, and then we're going to go to my Instant Pot. I'm going to add just a little bit of water at the bottom of it, add some of the dry rub, add some of the barbecue sauce. Then we're going to lower the pork shoulder into the Instant Pot. I'm going to let this slow cook at the medium setting for 8 hours. It's super simple. You set it up, let it go, and by dinner time, it's ready. Once it's sat for that 8 hours, your pork shoulder should look something like this. It is falling apart at this point. My knife just glided right through the meat. It's super, super tender. I'm just going to slice it up, then chop it up, and we have perfect barbecue pork shoulder ready to go. Now, for actually making the lettuce wrap, we're going to use this parchment paper and stack on some green leaf lettuce. I was pretty heavy in making this wrap. We want it sturdy. Next, add your pork shoulder, pickled red onions. I'll show you how to do that in a different video. The corn salsa, the crema, and I ended up wanting to use some of that barbecue sauce, so I added it to a bottle, gave it a little squirt, and then we're going to start wrapping this up. So I'm going to bring up one side, kind of like a sushi roll, and just wrap it over on itself using the parchment paper to keep it sturdy. Bring up the other side, wrapping it completely around, folding in the edges, and then there you have your lettuce wrap. Make sure you roll it in tight. We want the pressure to keep this wrap together. Slice it in half diagonally like a deli, and there we have our beautiful lettuce wrap. That is just absolutely beautiful to look at. All of the ingredients are perfectly held together in the lettuce wrap, which is what you want. It makes for a better eating experience. At the festival, this was probably my favorite thing there, so I was really excited to try this home, and man, was this a success. The pork was beautifully cooked. It was nice and tender. The crema, the barbecue sauce, the pickled onions, corn salsa, all of it came together perfectly. Holly here wanted to add a little bit more crema to it, which I take that as a compliment. That just means the crema was that good. Try this lettuce wrap at home. Next, we're going to be making our seafood salad. This was the simplest out of all of them. For this, we need a poaching liquid for our shrimp and scallops. To that, we're going to add a whole head of garlic that I've cut in half, the juice of 2 lemons. I'm also just going to throw the lemons in there after being juiced. 90 grams of white sugar and 125 grams of kosher salt. And we're going to add in 3 quarts of water. Give that a stir, and we're going to bring that up to a boil. For this salad, I'm going to be using 8 shrimp and about a handful of bay scallops. To the water that's been brought up to a boil, add your shrimp and scallops and bring the heat down immediately to about a medium-low and cook this for 2 minutes. We do not want to overcook the shrimp or the scallops. After the 2 minutes, add in ice to instantly stop the cooking and turn off the heat. I then moved my shrimp and scallops to another ice bath to peel the shrimp. Now, before moving on to the rest of the salad, we need our dressing. For this dressing, I'm going to crush up and dice up 1 clove of garlic and a bunch of parsley. Now, to get to the actual dressing part, we need to go over the formula. For a vinaigrette, per 2 parts of oil, you want 1 part of vinegar. So I'm going to be using extra virgin olive oil and red wine vinegar. To a bowl, add salt and pepper, then add your vinegar. Whisk that in until the salt is completely dissolved into the vinegar. Add in your garlic and parsley and stir that in completely as well. Once that's stirred in, then we can add our olive oil. I used 1/2 cup of vinegar, so I'm going to use 1 cup of extra virgin olive oil. Once that is completely stirred in, I'm going to add that to a container until we are ready to use it for this salad. And for the salad, we're going to need 1 diced Roma tomato, 1 diced piquillo pepper, green and black olives chopped. Then we're going to add in our shrimp, bay scallops, and a little bit of our dressing and stir that in. We're not adding all the dressing, just enough to lightly coat everything. And then we have our beautiful Spanish seafood salad. deep colors, deep flavor. I am just so ready to dig right into this. You can serve this family style, and I'm sure it will please everyone at the table. This was absolutely delicious. It was mild and refreshing like at Epcot, but it had so much more flavor. The one at Epcot seems almost boring compared to this version, so definitely make this at home. Now to make probably the ugliest bao buns, but this is my first time making bao buns, so have a little grace for me. For the dough, we're going to need 125 grams of warm water, 2 grams of yeast, and 5 grams of sugar. Mix the water and the yeast and sugar in together, and we're going to let that sit for about 10 minutes to check if the yeast is alive. And I'm glad we did this because this yeast was dead. This should not look like this. If the yeast is alive, it should look like this. The yeast eats the sugar and lets out gas, so it should be nice and foamy on top. In a bowl, we're going to mix in our yeast mixture and 250 grams of bread flour or all-purpose flour that just has a high protein count. Mix this together until you have a shaggy dough, and then we're going to move this to the table and knead it for 8 minutes or until smooth. Once you have a perfectly smooth dough, we're going to add it to a lightly greased bowl and let it rise for about 1 hour or until doubly size, making sure to keep that covered with a towel. Once this has doubled in size, we're going to punch the air out and we're going to move this onto a table and roll it out into kind of a log shape. Once you have that, we're going to cut into 8 equal sized pieces. Shape each of those pieces into a small round ball, pinching off the seam and then rolling it out to smooth it out. Then cover it with a towel and let sit for 30 minutes. Next, let's make a traditional teriyaki sauce. For this, we're going to need 1/2 cup of soy sauce, 1/2 cup of mirin, 1/2 cup of sake, and 1/4 cup of sugar. Mix that in, and we're going to move that into a saucepan and let that come to a boil. Once it's come to a boil, we're going to lower the heat down to medium, and we're going to stir this occasionally, making sure it doesn't stick to the bottom. We're going to reduce this down by about half. Once it's done that, add that to a container, and there you have a simple, traditional teriyaki sauce. To make the bao bun filling, though, we're going to need 2 green onions chopped, 2 cloves of garlic also chopped, and then I'm going to actually grind up my own chicken thighs. You can do this yourself, or you can just get ground chicken from the grocery store. No judgment. I just prefer doing it myself because I like using the thigh meat. It's fattier, it has more flavor, so I just like using that better. Add 1 teaspoon of cornstarch, 1 teaspoon of sesame oil, and about 2 tablespoons of your teriyaki sauce into a bowl and mix that all together. Put that in the fridge for about 30 minutes to let it solidify a little bit, and then let's shape our bun discs. On a lightly floured surface, take one of the balls and flatten them out into a roughly circular shape. Then with a rolling pin, push out away from you and turn the dough. This will help it stay round. Once you get it a little bit thinner, we're going to start just rolling out the edges so that we have a bit of a thicker center. The center needs to be thick enough to hold the filling and not bust, but the edges need to be thin enough to fold around the filling. Once you have it to a proper size disc, we're going to put that off to the side and repeat this for all of the other pieces of dough. Now, I'm not even going to pretend to know how to properly make these bao buns. I've watched so many different videos, seen so many different tutorials, and I am just struggling. This is my first time making these, so don't use my technique for it. What I can tell is that with one hand, you're making the crimps while the other thumb is making sure to push the filling into the bun and just keep going around. So I did my best, but don't worry about them looking bad. We just want them to taste good, and we'll practice on making them look better later. On pieces of parchment, we're going to put the buns into the steamer, and then we're going to let them sit for about 30 minutes to proof. Once we have that, we're going to let it start to steam up. Once you start seeing steam come out from the steamer, we're going to lower the heat to about medium-low and let it cook for 20 minutes. After that 20 minutes, your buns are done. Whether they look pretty or not, they are ready to eat. And all that we really care about is if they taste good. So let's give them a taste. Now, as far as the actual flavor of these buns, these were very nice. The buns were nice, soft, and fluffy. The inside was beautifully salty and sweet, but subtly sweet, not overly sweet like they were at the festival. This was a great bun. I will definitely be practicing to try to make them look better in the future, but man, the flavors were on point. And that's it. That's the video. That is 3 different recipes from Epcot that I've made here at home. And some of them were a bit more time consuming than others, but every single one of them, the flavor was fantastic. I would definitely recommend making these for dinner, making these for a party. You would certainly be the hit of any party that you bring these to. But man, make sure to hit a like button and comment below what you thought about this video. Hit that subscribe button, and I really appreciate you watching this video. But until next time, see you later.